Welcome to Toxicology, brought to you by Recovery Unplugged, the place where we talk about all things substance abuse, recovery, and mental health, with guests offering varying perspectives and viewpoints. Hosts Joseph Gordo and Jason Cabello share about their addiction and recovery and other serious subject matter through lighthearted yet candid conversation.
1, 2, 3, shoot.
Am I doing it?
You, intro, yeah.
Welcome to another episode of Toxicology, greatest podcast in the known universe about all things addiction, mental health, recovery, caffeinated, sparkling waters, full body suit tattoos. We cover it all.
35 milligrams of caffeine.
That's it?
Yeah.
35?
It's probably like, you know how people say that in champagne, the bubbles?
Mm-hmm.
The bubbles in the caffeine.
Okay. All right. Not a sponsor just yet, but if you come across the good, I don't have my glasses on this one.
Good and Gather.
Good and Gather, carbonated.
That's the Target brand.
Caffeinated. There
That's
you
Target's
go.
brand.
Brought to you by Target.
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 How you doing, Toxicology?
Toxies.
Toxies. How you doing, Toxies?
You have a name now.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Yeah. You listening at home.
You've arrived.
You're a Toxie. So we did an episode of Toxicology a while back. You actually weren't here. It was just me with Miles Walker, who's one of the therapists at RU, specifically in the trauma program.
Trauma therapy, yeah.
And he has started, like every couple of weeks, he'll show that episode of Toxicology to the clients.
Oh, okay.
And it's real funny because, like, if they haven't met me, they'll see me at the facility and be like, "You're the guy from the show."
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then also, fun fact that I think you'd appreciate, some of our like newer like intern type counselors have started to listen to random episodes of the show just to kind of like learn more about addiction, learn more about different topics within addiction, especially the ones that aren't in recovery themselves. And they said that this podcast has been really great for them to help, start to kind of understand more about the addiction stuff you don't learn about in school.
We provide a service.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah.
That's good to hear.
Cool?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Glad it's just not going unlistened.
No. People listen to the show, right? Y'all are listening right now, right? Yeah.
The sound of tumbleweeds.
Why aren't they talking back to us?
Yeah, I don't know. We don't do that anymore.
Dude, I miss that so much.
Yeah, we used to, if you're new to the program, we used to do live stream.
Yeah.
On Facebook
and YouTube.
And we used to get some interaction.
We used to get a lot of interaction. Our regular folks that came in every week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is one thing that I miss about the old thing. But I think I've talked about this before on this show, that I am not a person who enjoys working from home.
Yeah.
So any element that could get me out of the house for work is therapeutic for me. It's not one of those things that works for me at all.
Why don't we ask people to send in questions?
I don't know.
Every podcast I listen to, like at the end, they're like, "Hey, you can reach us at info@whateverpodcast.com." That's huge. Yes.
This
is riveting content for the listener at home. Listener at home, executive decision. We now have an official Toxicology mailbox. It's my email address. Should I just give them my email address?
Give it. I would not. Don't we have a Toxicology email address?
I don't know.
I think we do.
Look, if we do, we're going to insert it in post, and it's right here. The official Toxicology.
And if you're listening, it's we'll dub it in.
toxicology.pod@recoveryunplugged.com.
Look, I'm sorry. I'm feeling a little silly.
You're man. I'm jealous.
I had some afternoon caffeine, and I'm going on a little 3-day vacation tomorrow.
That's right. You're in prime giddiness.
Yeah, I'm giddy.
I like it.
It's nice to feel giddy.
It's good.
It's a blessing of recovery. Like, in addiction, there's nothing to look forward to. Nothing.
Yeah. I'm in one of those I need to be more grateful for what I have things because I'm in such a funk today. There's just so much with the new house.
Yes.
We've talked about this on the show before that my partner Gabby and I have recently bought a house, and it's a pretty big. It's more house than I've ever lived in, and in my adult life, and we have a lot of stuff to do, and every time like we're still unpacking and we're getting stuff delivered and we're getting a bed for the guest bedroom, and it sounds like just bullshit.
Yeah.
Like if I heard when I was living in a fucking public bathroom and heard somebody bitching about this stuff, I would have been pissed. But it is.
Hang out at public bathrooms and listen to people.
Yeah, I listen to podcasts when I live in, I could charge my phone in there. I could, do my dope in there, and
Do you want a pep talk? Do you want me to like fucking?
No, I just
listen, motherfucker.
I need to look within.
Listen.
I need to look within, and I realize that.
You have a house.
I have an amazing life now, and for me to just be like humdrum about it and be like,
too many Amazon packages on the porch.
I gotta go to my podcast today. Where?
Yeah.
So I get it, and I'm well aware of it. However, like I
gotta go to the house with my beautiful girlfriend and unpack all our
my
cool stuff,
all my skateboards and stuff, and paintings and artwork.
We don't have the kitchen set up. We'll probably have to order takeout.
I have discovered Instacart.
Oh my God, where have you been?
Because I like the grocery store, so I've always been like, I'll just do it. But when I was on the road with Kiss, I needed some stuff, and it was like, I had one day off, and I wanted to go to the gym and then like sleep in and not have to get an Uber to go to the grocery store. So I was like, you know what? Let me try this Instacart thing. So then I tried it when I got home, and I didn't realize that I had like signed up for the, if you use it more than whatever time, then you're signed up for the service, so you get the free delivery. Yeah. It's already paid for itself.
It's fucking worth it
with the time spent. Yeah. And Instacart, man. I'm becoming a modern man.
I get the Uber One. You pay like $9.99 a month for Uber One.
Mm-hmm.
And like they I don't know, you save some money somehow. But they start to send you these offers. They're like, hey, like since you're an Uber One guy, like 2-for-1 tacos if you want.
Oh, wow.
It's just like fucking.
We're going to send you a pizza just because.
And if you're smart with that shit, you can get like $40 worth of food for like $8.
What?
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to. Gabby's really good at that stuff. I will. She's really good at it, but we're also to the point like if this is gonna take more than a half hour, then it's just not worth it. Like I'll just pay for.
But anyway, so listen. Bottom line, you have a kick-ass life.
Yes, I know. I need to get my head off my ass.
I also have a kick-ass life.
Yeah.
Right. Like you're unpacking in your new house. I'm going on a trip tomorrow with my beautiful wife to Montana. I'm not worried about getting dope
chill.
Sick. I'm not worried about smuggling drugs through the airport. Like, and listener at home, if you're listening and you're like, fuck these dudes bragging about this shit, we're not bragging, because the lives that we have today came as a result of getting into a life of recovery.
Right.
That was offered to us by treatment centers, by people in the rooms of recovery.
Yeah, a lot of 12-step stuff.
And at the end of the day, like we're, if you're in a dark place, we're offering that to you too.
It's available to you.
Yeah.
It's available to us all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be treatment. It's working steps.
And, my sponsor will tell me, stop being such a insert word there. Like,
what word?
I'm not going to say it on here, but like, for me, like, stop being such a little.
Oh.
Yeah, like get your head out of your ass.
Yeah.
Like if you're not grateful for everything you have and you're feeling like shit, get out there and fucking help somebody.
Yeah.
Get out there and do something about it.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Woe is me about your fucking life.
Yeah.
You have a great life.
Yep. Speaking of great lives.
Speaking of great lives. Great tattoos.
He's got 2 moms. He's got an extra mom.
Yeah.
How cool is that?
That is pretty cool.
Yeah. I forgot to tell him. Like now it's like, anyway, our guest today is a beautiful individual shares with us a really cool story of recovery with some topics that we don't get into all the time.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
some interesting experiences outside of kind of the traditional addiction story. He's a man in recovery. He is a RU alumni, now RU employee.
I love it.
You know, we say he works in admissions, but you know the official name of the admissions office
Life-saving
is
center.
the Life Saving Center. He works in the Life Saving Center for Recovery Unplugged. He's a guy who's really on the front line.
Yeah.
You know, there to pick up the phone when someone first makes that decision.
Right.
They're going to try
And
to get some help.
so staying on topic here, you've helped people get into Recovery Unplugged before,
Yeah,
right? Like
yeah,
in
yeah.
your personal
Yeah,
life and
yeah.
dealt with the people in the life-saving center,
Yeah.
like on that level.
Yeah.
And I have too. And sometimes it's my first encounter with these people.
Yeah.
And they're always just so like, oh, this is a friend of yours. It's great. We're going to keep you informed, blah, blah. And then so you get to kind of see what the family members go through when they're getting their loved one into treatment. Like you're included if the person wants you to be included, you know, in being informed about what the next process is, what they're doing, even down to like they made it on the plane, they're on their way here, they got picked up from the airport. Like you can inform, like you're part of the process. And the Life-Saving Center, it's we're a well-oiled machine at Recovery Unplugged. Every department knows what they're doing. They have the right people for the right jobs at Recovery Unplugged. And today's guest is
one of those people.
One of those people.
Ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, I give to you Mr. Bryan Sloan.
Mr. Bryan Sloan. Bryan Sloan.
Hey.
Welcome to the show. Beaming in through the interwebs all the way from a magical land known as
Florida.
Yep.
How's it going, man?
It's going, man. It's going. It's my day off, so, you know, soaking it up.
All right. Well, thanks for letting us interrupt your day off here.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah.
It's always a pleasure to be interrupted on Monday off by some work shit.
So Bryan is a coworker of ours at Recovery Unplugged. He works at, well, tell us, why don't you tell us what you do at Recovery Unplugged, Bryan?
Yeah, so I'm on the front line of the admissions. So I take the initial calls. I have to run the insurance. I basically have to get you approved with our doctors for treatment.
And I would imagine that you have to do a lot of back and forth with people who are, because if correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of times you'll get a third person calling, not the person who's actually going to treatment, like a loved one, a mother,
Absolutely, a mother,
spouse.
A wife.
Right. So I'd imagine a lot of your job is trying to, A, do what you have to do to get this person into treatment, and then B, kind of back up the person who's trying to get their loved one into treatment and try to convince them a little bit more, right? So that definitely takes some special skills, some patience, and I think it always helps when somebody has been through it before. So you are a person in recovery, correct?
I am, yep.
All right. So I met Bryan in person a few months back. I went down to Florida, and our first time.
That time I invited you to come do something in Austin, and you went to Florida instead.
Maybe it happens a lot. You know, I'm a man on the go, Joe. So if you catch me if you can, you know. Yeah. But no, the first time that Bryan and I actually got to meet, I was there with the camera crew and like followed him around, and he was a little nervous, but you know, it was a good way to meet him because we had talked before, and he's always helpful whenever we need anything in the marketing department. So good guy.
So I don't know. This is always exciting for me because like you know, the admissions team for the most part, like except for the ones who've been with RU for like several years, right? You know, like I never meet them in person, and sometimes we don't even talk on the phone, but we have these full-on conversations on Salesforce and email, and sometimes admissions is my best friend and sometimes admissions is my worst enemy. It's just kind of, I think that goes both ways though. I think sometimes they're like,
It's the
thank you.
love hate. It's the love hate.
Yeah. Sometimes they're like, Joseph, thank you so much, you rock. And sometimes I know they're like, fucking Joseph.
Joseph won't approve a dog.
What do you mean we can't let this couple be roommates and bring their pet chipmunk to treatment?
It's a support chipmunk.
It's a support chipmunk. But Bryan, let's rewind a little bit though, man. I mean, I think it'd be good later, like to talk about some admission stuff, because I think a lot of family members and loved ones want to know, like, you know, my kid's shooting heroin. How do I make him go to rehab? You know, or but before that, like, I think the greatest value everybody in the world, but everybody also on the RU team brings is like who they are, right? That personal experience. So like, first off, are you a Florida native or are you one of the many magical transplants to Florida?
I'm a Virginia transplant.
Virginia, right on.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You know what's weird? To me, Virginia is very far north, but Virginia is actually considered the South.
Yeah.
The South, yep.
It's further north, yet somewhat more southern than most of like Miami, for instance.
Yeah. So, grew up the son of a coal miner, right?
That's West Virginia.
I don't fucking know the difference. How far
Definitely
is West
west.
Virginia from Virginia?
I mean, it's
Next
a
door.
little bit west.
Yeah. It's like closer than Houston.
Yeah.
All right, but I'm sorry. So let's start there, man. You're from Virginia. You know, tell us about you know, what was little Bryan like growing up? What was the family like?
Man, so I was like adopted when I was 10 days old. So, you know, I guess I kind of had abandonment issues from the get. But, you know, I was rambunctious. I was ADHD. I was diagnosed with like, you know, anxiety, depression at a real early age, you know, elementary school.
Wow.
So, you know, my genetics, both my parents, like my biological parents were, you know, addicts. So it's kind of in my blood, you know, so to say, I guess. So, but yeah, I wasn't particularly a good student in school or anything, you know. My ADHD got the best of me. I wasn't able to pay attention. Yeah, it was for the most part like a quiet, medicated kid.
Yeah.
So
you know, you mentioned that you're adopted. And that your birth parents were both addicts. So have you ever had the opportunity to have any contact with them, or do you know who they are? Or is it one of those kind of?
No, so it's kind of weird. Like I was 25. I'll never forget this. I was shopping for groceries in Colorado when I lived there. And I got a call, you know, from some brokers. She's like, "Hey, I found like a birth relative of you." And I'm like, "Hey, this is probably a scam. You know, don't hit me again." Anyways, they say, "Hey, no, sign this release of information." Turns out it was my mom. You know, I haven't spoken to her my whole life. So turns out she's down here in Florida, about 3 hours from me. We've met several times. She's awesome.
Oh wow.
So
Wow.
yeah.
So was she looking for you, or
She was.
Yeah.
She was. Yep.
Wow. Well, you don't hear that one.
No, that's probably the first time that I've heard that. And she was able to, you know, you were able to accept whatever she had to offer as far as, you know, giving the reasons why and that yeah, you don't hear that very often. Did that do a lot for you, getting some sort of closure on that? And I'd imagine even seeing what it would do for her was pretty beneficial for you as well.
Yeah, it was like almost life-changing, you know. We started talking that day. She flew out, you know, a couple days later. We met in person, you know, just kind of hit it off from there. It was like, you know, 25 years of not knowing you.
Right.
I can't soak it up in 1 week, you know. It's a forever going process still. So,
And is she in recovery now? Because you said that she had some issues.
she is. Yeah,
Oh, wow.
she's got a few years now. Yep.
Okay.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
So one of the big questions that they always have with addiction is like, you know, the nature versus nurture thing, right? Like how much a role does genetics play in this? And so clearly you've got the genetics, but what was your adopted family like?
So I actually come from a pretty, you know, good family. My father was an anesthesiologist. My mom was a school teacher. My dad worked long hours. You know, being a doctor was kind of stressful for him. So, You know, he would come home kind of angry, bringing his cases home with him. You know, so I saw a lot of kind of, I don't know, I guess abuse at an early age. So, but my mom was my rock. You know what I'm saying? She's always been there for me. I call her every day still. You know, I had to call her yesterday. You know, always just a mama's boy. So
Yeah.
Any siblings?
yeah. So adoptive wise, you know, on my adoptive side, I have a brother and sister, and then like my blood side, I have a brother and sister as well.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Okay.
Yep.
Now, when you first met your birth mother, were you already in recovery, or were you still kind of still out there?
I was still out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was open about it. You know, I don't know. I wasn't like a closeted addict, so to say.
Right. Was she of any help to you when you decided to get clean, or support wise?
She definitely supported it, and she pushed me towards it, you know, several times until I finally just, you know, on my own, was like, all right, I'm going to come to RU and, you know, get my life straight. So,
Right on, right on. So, okay. So getting back to your childhood, right? So you said you're young kid, you know, got diagnosed with a bunch of stuff pretty young, got medicated for that. And, you know, I hear a lot of people who get diagnosed with ADHD as a kid, you know, that when they first get given, you know, whatever medication for it, that like it's like life changing. You know, like you talk to their families, they're like, it's like different kid overnight. Is that what you experienced?
I mean, I was so young, but I know that I wasn't like myself. I was so medicated that I was just kind of like in a zombie-like state.
Wow.
So like I was socially awkward, you know, I was picked on because of it. You know, I wasn't really liked until like, you know, I don't know, my teenage years, so to say.
Yeah. And so at what point do you start to feel, you know, at what point does, you know, drugs and alcohol start to enter the picture for you?
Oh, I got shipped off to military school when I was 13.
Oh, which one?
Fishburne Military School in
Oh.
Virginia.
Right on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you got shipped off to military school. So something must have been going on, because I mean, for your adopted family who like went and sought you out to decide like, you know what, we need a little space.
Yep.
For
No,
Bryan.
I was 13 years old. I was already involved with the courts. I was stealing. I was getting into fights at school. I actually ran like a candy racket at school.
Yeah, just fucking candy
really,
kingpin.
it's stupid, man, but you know, it was making me money in 5th grade. So,
Little Scarface.
you know, just stupid stuff, stupid shit. But yeah, so military school came around and I was like, you know, I'm 13 years old and I'm with like seniors, these 18-year-olds, like already got facial hair, smoking cigarettes behind staff's back, like pot, you know what I'm saying, drinking. So naturally I'm exposed to that very early.
And attracted to it, right? Like these are the kids that you start to look up to and you're like, oh, that's who I want to be.
Exactly.
So I actually, you know, we get almost every client that I've ever worked with who had like a boarding school or a military school experience ends up having to talk about some kind of trauma that they experienced while at the boarding school, you know, from like hazing shit to like abuse, you know, sexual abuse, psychological abuse, like all that kind of stuff, to where, I don't know, boarding schools just make me
Yeah, I know.
Nervous, man.
No experience with
like
save your money. Save your money.
It's like it sounds like it almost always kind of turns into like a Lord of the Flies situation, right?
Right.
Like the adults think they're in charge, but they really.
Yeah, because I mean, you can only be supervised so many hours throughout the day. And
yeah, there's some kid who's like slinging black market Kit Kats who really fucking runs that shit.
Yeah. He's Kit Kat Kingpin over here we're talking to. Did you carry that racket onto military school, or did you leave that behind?
I left the candy racket. You know, I got tied up in school for that. So, but no, I did graduate to selling other things in military school.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So starting to get into trouble, you said you were kind of picked on when you were a little bit younger. Is that when you started getting into fights because of that? Like,
yeah, So I mean, I would get picked on like so much that, you know, it's hard. It's weird, man. So I just finally snapped and was like, all right, you know, I got to stand up for myself.
Yeah.
Cause I'm not a big dude. You know what I'm saying? I'm like 5'8", 150 pounds. So, you know, I got shoved around as a kid by all the bigger cats, you know? So,
Yeah. So you kind of learned how to defend yourself
yep.
a little bit young.
Yep.
And that,
Exactly.
when that happens, when you realize like, oh, wow, okay, I can do this. I could take care of myself. It kind of gives you a little bit of bravado. And then at some point it stops becoming just like, I'm going to wait for somebody to pick on me. It's like, what the fuck are you looking at? You know,
Yep.
you get a little bit of that going, and especially being a little guy. You know?
Was that your move? The like, I'm gonna blow up real big before you can even start the shit to kind of
Kind of, yeah.
So so you go to military school to get straightened out, and instead you become better at what you were doing anyway, right? You graduate from selling, you know, I don't know, Kit Kats and Twinkies and whatever the fuck else to selling some drugs. You know,
Yep.
what's, you know, so what did you graduate from military school? Like, is that where you did your whole high school career? Did you eventually convince your family you had reformed and got to go back home?
Yeah, so I mean, a couple of my buddies got kicked out for hazing, you know, and I was like selling with them. So I saw them get kicked out. I was like, all right, I'm kicked out too, I guess.
Yeah.
So, you know,
And,
next thing I know, I ended up in like you know, public schools, and that was just, you know, a mistake. So
so what starts to happen when you get back into public schools?
I started skipping school. I was selling drugs at school. I was only showing up to sell drugs at school.
Yeah, you got to be where the market is, right?
Exactly. And I eventually got caught. I got put on probation. I violated that probation. This is all before I'm 18. So my probation officer like pulls me into her office one day. He's like, "Hey, you know, you're fucking up bad. Like, we gotta do something with you." And like ships me to a wilderness camp for an entire year.
That's another place that people have all kinds of trauma
like
from.
some outward bound kind of thing.
Yeah.
Basically a manual labor camp for teenagers. So yeah.
Where was that at?
That was also in Virginia. It was in a city called Dillwyn.
So was it like, so a lot of those behavior modification boys ranches, whatever you want to call them, like they run on the old therapeutic communities model, where there's like a lot of like peer-to-peer accountability expected, and there's like some sort of point system, right, where like every time you do something wrong, you like lose a point or you gain points, and then some sort of like structured like labor, and it's usually pretty like pointless labor.
Yeah, super pointless. Digging up tree stumps just to put them back in the ground and then cover it back up.
Yes.
So
it's a psychological thing.
Sounds like
it's something that has no purpose or meaning to it on purpose.
Just the discipline, you know, in the most extreme way, I guess.
Yeah. So coming out of that, you know, I used to work with adolescents, you know, back in the day, and most of the adolescents that we got referred were, you know, CPS, involved with the courts somehow. And, you know, I eventually had to get out of doing that because like, it felt like, especially the kids who were coming from the system, like what we were doing was like actually making things worse, right? Like helping criminals become better criminals, helping drug addicts become better drug addicts, you know. Little pothead 14-year-old gets wrapped up in the system. Now he's meeting the 16, 17-year-olds who are shooting heroin,
right,
and getting into that. And, you know, you know, was your experience with that kind of similar to that?
Absolutely. I saw all these older dudes doing it, and I was like, oh, they're cool, you know, like they have lots of friends or they got girlfriends, you know what I'm saying? So why not?
Yeah.
Maybe I'll be cool.
Yeah.
So stupid, but yeah.
Was that one of the driving factors for you, is like, you know, almost like trying to find some way to like get in with a crowd and like be
Yeah, and
accepted.
I think that stems from that childhood, like being picked on, kind of, kind of wanting to feel wanted. So,
Well, even I would even like take it further back, and be like, from being adopted and like that initial, that I like, because I had it like my parents divorced, right? So I wasn't adopted. My parents divorced, and I always had this thing of like, well, why didn't my dad like want me? Like, why didn't he want to be around me? Almost like that very famous Fresh Prince episode.
Which one?
When Will's dad comes to visit, and then Will's dad leaves without saying goodbye, and he yells at Uncle Phil, and he's like, "Why don't he want me, man?" No, nobody.
Nah, sorry.
Whatever. I thought y'all were cool. But anyway, I don't know. I look at like my story, and like a lot of it is driven by like this desire to like
Be the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Yeah, exactly.
fire.
But no, I can relate to the feeling.
Yeah.
The separation anxiety, the abandonment issue.
Yeah.
And wanting to fill that void with, and what can you at that age, like finding the streets, finding, some sort of purpose to fit in, and having a little bit of a chip on your shoulder. What better way to like show you what I could do, like I'm going to be a fucking drug dealer, or I'm going to be a cool guy and fight people and all that stuff.
So eventually graduate high school. Yeah.
GED.
And then where did things, where did things start to progress to the point, I'm always curious, like, the people around you start to see like, hey, Bryan's got some problems, but so often, right, like the addict is the last one to admit or understand like, oh shit, like things are not good.
Yeah.
It's like, at what point in your life, at what age is it that you start to realize like, this is not working for me, something has to change?
Like when I decided on treatment, or when I just knew something was
probably before, like when you started just thinking like maybe you weren't ready to stop, but knowing like it's not sustainable, it's probably not the best decisions that you're making, because I mean, fuck, for me it was at least 7 years from the day that I realized like I can't do this anymore to the last day I actually did it.
Yeah. Like I knew I was fucked from the first time I shot heroin, but I still kept doing it for like 6 more years.
Right.
It
was probably like 2016 for me, and I was probably like 2-3 years in deep using.
Right.
And I didn't get clean until 2022. So
right.
I self detox so many times, man, so many times, and it never works. It's
no, because it's I talk about this a lot when I work with guys who are just trying to get clean and try their different ways, and I'm like, the hard part about doing that is it's not the real fucking sickness, like when you can't get out of bed, when you're throwing up, because that there's so much going on that it kind of consumes you. It's that little dull, uncomfortable feeling that won't go away. Like your pits are sweaty, you can't eat, you're not going to the bathroom right. It's lasting like 2-3 weeks, and it's just like, I'll get some shit at the gas station that'll just make me feel just a little bit better. Get some fucking Kratom, or get like try to get like one Vicodin or something like that. And it's all that was my thing. Is like I would detox and go through like the hell of it, and go through like, unlike Joseph, who can detox in like 3 days.
Fucking 4 days,
we talked about that. For me, it's like a month and a half, and I'm just like, I just feel.
No, look, the last time I detoxed, I was fucking 24 years old, so I'm almost 40 now. It might be
true.
different.
It would probably that's probably a good point, because I was in my 30s when I started like detoxing and stuff. But it's that little dull feeling that makes me want to get just a little something, and then once I would get that little something, I mean, it would hit my lips, and I'd be like, this ain't gonna do it for me. So down to Overtown,
Overtown. So okay, so you say it was like 2016. What's going on in your life that's making you finally come to the realization that like shit ain't working?
In 2016?
Yeah. When you first kind of accepted it.
Man. I experienced like my first like week of withdrawals.
Mm-hmm.
And I had psychosis. I was having hallucinations.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Dude, I was a huge benzo guy. So
Oh, that's rough. Yeah.
yeah, and I don't know. So I was self-detoxing, and I'll never forget this particular dream I had, and it was definitely psychosis. But I was in China. In some snowy mountain, and I was trying to get Donald Trump to pardon me because I didn't have my passport in China.
Oh man.
So, I called my
China.
mom. I told her about this, like out of my dream, like just total psychosis, dude. Just total.
And so you were trying to detox like in an apartment, like just straight up.
Yep. Just cold turkey.
But so
From like 20 milligrams Xanax to nothing.
But so like what happened? Like that's an extreme decision, right? Like to say like I'm gonna cold turkey Xanax, I'm gonna lock myself in this apartment, like Train Spotting style, right? With like a bucket in the corner for whatever goes down. Like, but what makes you decide to do that?
Man, I don't know. It's stopping. It's not wanting to feel like I need to take something to escape. I can just be myself. But it's like Jason said, you go through that whole withdrawal just to get that one dull moment. You try to take something else to take it off your edge, but it's not it.
Yeah.
And so you go through the whole week withdrawals just to relapse.
Yep.
And if you're doing 20 milligrams of Xanax per day, I'm assuming that you're pretty barred out up into that point. So, whatever feelings you have, you might not even remember. Because, that is just, and I was never, I did a ton of fucking Xanax, but I never liked it very much. But I was I just, that thing that some people get when they're on Xanax, like I've heard so many times, like, I don't know what happened. I just, I took a Xanax and next thing I know, I'm fucking robbing a pharmacy.
Yeah.
Like, or it makes people want to fucking steal shit. And it's just.
Listen, some of the worst days and nights of my life started with popping a Xanax.
Yeah.
Like, like I didn't hustle and steal and get dope sick for Xanax, but Xanax caused some fucking problems.
Yeah.
Man. But so, we don't talk about benzos a lot on this show, but
No.
I think it's important, for like the viewers at home to understand that while Hollywood portrayals may make you think that like heroin detox is the worst thing in the world, like the worst heroin detox will not kill you, right?
However,
a benzo detox, super dangerous.
Or alcohol.
Benzos and alcohol. I mean, benzos are basically liquid alcohol. Alcohol in pill form, but like risk of seizures, risk of cardiac arrest, like you really could die. Like detoxing yourself off of benzos or alcohol is super dangerous. And one of the worst things, and I think you guys were starting to kind of touch on it a little bit, is that like with the benzos, like you turn down all your emotions to like zero, right? Not just because you're high, but because like your brain literally stops making, all these different neurotransmitters and stuff. So when people get off benzos, like the emotional regulation piece takes forever to come back, like 6 months to a year for some people. And you're basically like an exposed wire. Like any small emotion, like triggers much bigger emotions, and it's super difficult. Even like with treatment and therapy and everything, like benzos are incredibly challenging.
Yeah. So from a professional standpoint, then what's suggested for someone when they're in the early recovery from benzos?
Lots of like real basic like coping skills, like everybody's different on what works for them, but like things like thought stopping techniques, counting, breathing, mindfulness, even like basically anything that can interrupt like the train of the emotion, right? Like emotions are like a wave typically, right? So like for someone who's come off of benzos in their first year, typically those emotions aren't necessarily a wave, they're much more like a tsunami. So it's like, how do I hold on through this and interrupt this and make that wave crash.
Right.
Right. So like adult coloring books, exercise, running, like whatever thing that someone can learn to do to interrupt that wave is kind of the best you can do until your brain naturally starts to repair itself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, so first off, like, I mean, much respect for having the determination to like detox yourself off of benzos. And it sounds like from like a really internally motivated place. Like it wasn't like, oh man, like my old lady's getting on my case or like I'm in legal trouble. It sounds like you were just like, I'm tired of this.
Yeah, I definitely was. And after experiencing withdrawals, I was like, I felt so close to death that I was I was welcoming it, I was like, I don't ever want to feel like this again.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and people talk, I think for the normies, it's tough for them to hear someone say like, wow, it made me want to die and I didn't ever want to feel like that again. But I got high again like a day later.
Yep.
Right. And it took another 6 years before you got done with it. So like, I think, like
what's the longest that you put together before ultimately getting clean?
As in like sobriety time?
Yeah. Or just abstinence, whatever you want to call it.
I mean, really no more than a few months.
Yeah. But that's still pretty substantial, like for a guy like me, for a guy who used like I used, like a couple of days was a big deal. Like it was one of those things, like I could physically stay away from it for a few days or for a month or whatever. But there's always that little thing where the reservation or whatever you want to call it, and it just seemed like it was such a hairpin trigger for me to just go from doing the right thing, trying to do the right thing, wanting to do the right thing to I'm dope sick again already. Yeah. Like, I don't even know how, and it would just go off the rails so fast like that so many times.
So those couple months you were able to put together, I'm assuming not working any kind of program or anything, just kind of.
Yeah. I mean, I tried treatment, and I actually AMA'd from some place in Virginia, but I got out and I was like, I'm going to do better. I'm going to do better. 2 months goes by, 3 months goes by, however long, I'm back to trying like fentanyl, like, smoking crack. Dude, it's just like, I don't know. It's crazy.
And that's the part that people don't get, right? Is that like at least for me, right? Like without a program, without doing some work on myself, right? Like my internal condition without drugs is so horrible that like eventually it's like, what? Smoking crack, shooting some, that seems like the best option right now.
Yeah.
And like, and none of us are stupid people. I've never met a stupid drug addict, right? Like
met a couple, but not many.
We're all fairly intelligent people,
Right? Yeah.
I mean, some are like I've met some fucking genius, but like we all get to a point where like the way I feel inside is so shitty that like almost killing myself with drugs is probably the best option right now.
Yeah.
For feeling how I feel.
Yeah.
So what gets you ready to so is that during the period of time when you first meet your mom where you're like kind of getting on drugs, off of drugs, on drugs, off of drugs?
No, I was kind of like, I was a couple years in. I had already been through withdrawals at this point. I think I was using lightly, and there's no such thing as using lightly to me now.
Right.
But like I can remember parts of my trip with her, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
it's like I can remember parts of that. That was one of the light days.
Yeah. So for something that emotional too, and you're kind of like a bit numb to it being sort of barred out, did when you ultimately got clean, did that come back to you? Like, because I know for me, a lot of stuff that I didn't realize was like traumatic in my life. Once I got clean, I was like, oh man, that was pretty fucking heavy. Like now I have to process this. I could imagine that on the opposite end of the spectrum, something like a good occasion like that could probably, work the same way.
That shit still hits me every so often. I thought about it the other day. I was like, wow, like I really went 25 years without knowing, who I was, like my genetics, my, even my nationality.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't even know I was Irish and Hungarian for
Yeah.
25 years. So,
But you were like, that explains why I love Guinness.
Or that explains why I have the shamrock tattoo on my face.
yeah.
But no, I mean, I don't think we can really like not underestimate, like, but the lack of connection to a mom is like one of the most, challenging things a human can have, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, Mother's Day is like the busiest day in restaurants across the country for a reason, right? Because like everybody loves their mama,
Yeah.
right? And having that nurturing of a mom from like a physical chemical level, like when you're first born, is really it's important for like how we form as human beings. So I can see how like still thinking about that, like that is wild. But then getting the opportunity to get to meet her and have a relationship, that's even wilder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so let's get you sober, man. Like, so you finally so 6 years you're kind of doing this dance around it, right? Kind of maybe doing a little treatment, detoxing yourselves, getting a couple months. And then, 6 years into that, you decide like this is it. This is like my once and for all shot. Like, what's going on there when you decided to really, really do it?
I was in Richmond, Virginia, and I was, this is a couple years ago, last year, 22. And my brother was a client with us with Recovery Unplugged as well. So he had been pushing me for, the past couple of years. He's like, come on, man. Like, I don't really fuck with you. You're still using, my parents had been begging me to go to treatment, and I had a kind of like an overdose, like in a seizure. I split my plug open, so I have like a split ear now, and I was just, I was so pissed at myself for getting back on Xanax and so heavily. And like I said, I'd picked up crack, I'd picked up fentanyl, so I was really down, dude. I was like, I went to my mom's house, I think, like that night, and I was like, hey, I need help. I can't, like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be on earth anymore. Like, I just want to use it until I can't, so to say. And, my brother came up and started talking to me. He's like, dude, just go to Recovery Unplugged. They got the best staff. It's comfortable. They got private chefs. Just the whole
just
work.
really selling you on it. Yeah.
He should be admissions himself, but he's not. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know. I was just like, it was my mom's birthday too. I remember that. So my clean date's my mom's birthday. So I was like, fuck it, let's fly out tomorrow and just do it. They had a bed, so I was like, I'm out.
Yeah. So. That feeling when you get a bed, it's great. I mean, I've been through it, 20 times at least. So.
And every time,
like when you find out like they have a bed, there's that. There's this relief that it's just like maybe things will get better.
Yep.
I don't know.
Ryan, as you were talking though, my last day using, I was living at my mom's house. I was out of money. I was about to start pawning shit to start getting drugs. And I went to my mom and I was like, Ma, like, I'm fucked up. I want to get sober. I will go to rehab. I need $20 real quick. And then just tell me what's like, and then I don't care after that. Just tell me, And I went and she gave me money. I went and fixed. I got back and she's like, here, talk to this guy on the phone. They got a bed for you tomorrow. You got to do a pre-screen. And
you're like, okay, let me get 20 more bucks before this pre-screen.
No, but like it was the first time for me that like no one came to me and was like, you need to get sober. Right. I wasn't in jail that the judge said like, you need to sign this and go straight to rehab to get released. Like none of that shit. It was the first time that I actually went and I was like, I am fucked up, Mom. Like, help me go somewhere.
Yeah.
And that was like that was it. That was the last time.
That was it.
Yeah. And I mean, your mom was instrumental in you going to treatment
absolutely.
too, right?
Yeah.
Because she knows people who
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And God, how many times I did that? I just need $20. Like I would write notes and be like, never give me money again after this $20. And she has like a stack of them.
At one point, I was living with my mom and she'd gotten me a job with the school district. I was working the front desk at an elementary school. And I had my poor mom like so codependent and sick that like I would wake up in the morning and there was $20 sitting on my nightstand because she was like, so he can go get fixed up without trying to steal from anybody or do anything stupid. And I'm like, we should save this episode and just do it for Mother's Day.
Yeah.
Shout out to all the moms.
Shout out to all the moms.
Shout out.
And
Yeah.
three baby boys doing okay right now.
Yeah, we're doing all right. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
So you go to treatment, you go to RU, and I mean this show's not about like, oh my God, RU's so fucking awesome. But like
But it is so awesome.
It is.
but like what was different about your experience there, you know?
Man, my thing was the staff. Like I truly felt welcomed, you know, like I came in, dude, and I was ready to punch someone the fuck out, dude. Like if you look at Kipu and can find my photo on there,
I can find it.
Yeah. I look angry, dude. They you know, Zach wouldn't come up to me for 3 days because I was angry.
It's like
So-
not that. And for our viewers at home, Kipu is our electronic medical record system that we use, where and because it's online and it's on the internet, everything on there lives forever.
HIPAA compliant.
HIPAA compliant. Yeah, you can't. It's not like on the internet. Like you can't Google.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
But so you come in there and even though you went willingly and voluntarily, you were still giving off the aura of like, do not fucking come near me.
Yeah, so I had agreed. I was like, all right, I'll come down, do 30 days only.
But I
Yeah.
get to
I'm
punch
only
people in
doing-
the face.
Yeah, I was like, you know, we'll see if I'll take this shit seriously. I came down, you know, I think it was like Marissa, it was like Travis, Zach, a couple of the clients, you know, they were just reaching out to me,
Mhm.
like making it a point to get me to talk to them. So eventually I just, you know, I broke my walls down. I was like, what's up? I'm Bryan. You know?
Yeah. Those were when I was a tech, those were your type was the kind of guy that I would get along with the best. Because it was always like, maybe I'm not here to cause shit, but just don't fuck with me, you know? And
Exactly, yeah.
I think you met Austin, right? Austin Roush, the tattoo
Yeah.
artist guy.
Yeah.
So he was one of those guys. He wasn't necessarily like, I'm going to punch you in the face, but he's just like, I don't know why I'm here, man. I don't want to be here.
I think you just like for sure broke his HIPAA.
He was in PhD with my brother anyway, so I know all about him.
Yeah. So
He's a great dude.
Well,
yeah.
it's fine that you know, but it's just going on the internet.
I will make sure that he is okay with
Hey,
it.
shout
But
out to Austin.
You better have him sign some.
I give Jason consent to use my name in the Recovery Unplugged podcast.
So anyway, Austin R, or should I say, no, let's just say A Roush. No, he was one of those guys, though. He was just completely like, I don't want to be here. Like, standoffish, always had a fucking face on. And then I ran into him, not the last time I was in Florida, but the time before. I was leaving a meeting and I saw him. And he was just a different person, like 100% changed man, like had a smile on his face, was like happy to see me, thanked me for like, you know, always being cool with him and just kind of giving him his space. And I didn't even recognize him at first. And then I was like, holy shit, Austin? Like, because I mean, not even like nothing physical, but just when somebody gets that thing
That
lifted
glow
off of
back.
them, like
Yeah.
they're smiling, they're carrying themselves different. So
I hope to be like that someday.
yeah, I hope he lets us use that story.
But so Bryan, so we talked about how you'd put a couple months together before and we're kind of miserable, and then eventually you're like, oh, fuck, I'm gonna get high again, right? You know,
Yeah.
I'm assuming that you don't feel like that anymore, right?
No.
What work did you do, or what happened that helped you start to change that, you know, to where you can today feel comfortable in your own skin?
So I'm like I said, I committed to that 30 days. I did the 30 days and during that 30 days, I was like, I'm going to stay.
Yeah.
I'm going to try and do PHP. I'm going to try and do IOP. I ended up doing PHP and I came back to Virginia. I did virtual for, the initial, 2 months. And then I got a scholarship to continue it.
Oh,
Wow.
Yeah. So it just was really helpful. I learned a lot of coping skills. I got a sponsor when I got out. Since my sponsor has gone back to treatment. So, I'm kind of like sponsorless now, but I still hit meetings, not necessarily a steps worker, but I definitely hit NA meetings.
Oh, that was going to be my next question. Are you an AA guy or an NA guy?
He lives in Florida, of course.
Yeah, he's in Florida. Yeah. And so what's it like for you now being on the other side of things, right? Like, at one point you were the guy on the phone calling in like, I'm fucked up, I need help. And now you're the guy that answers that call.
Yeah. It's, I don't know, man. It's every day's different. I'm very grateful because like you said, that was me on the call and I was the stressed out one. My mom was calling for me, worried about me. And now I'll get off my calls and I'm like, wow, I'm super thankful I'm not in that position anymore. Like, and I can never see myself going back to that after doing this kind of work.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And you get to talk to people and say, with in no uncertain terms, like I was in your position not that long ago. Like I was on a call with somebody. My mom was trying to get me into treatment. I wasn't sure I wanted to go. I knew I wanted to stop feeling the way that I was feeling, but I didn't necessarily want to go and have to go through the whole treatment thing.
Yep.
So so now that we have virtual services at Recovery Unplugged, we didn't have that when I was a client.
The internet didn't exist when I went to treatment.
Pretty much, right?
Listen, I got sober before iPhones existed.
Right? You would get some AOL Messenger time and
like maybe like motherfuckers had Blackberries,
right? Wow. But so, how do you go through a little bit of what you would tell somebody if they're wondering what type of treatment for them, whether it be in person or virtual treatment? How do you decide like maybe this person fits better for virtual, or maybe this person needs more in-person care?
I mean, you can usually tell by what they're reporting, for usage wise. I mean, ultimately that comes down to our doctors. But if someone calls in and they're like, hey, I'm struggling with depression, anxiety only, I'm going to recommend that virtual program. I'm like, hey, do you have an ideal setup at home? Like, are you open to doing like a virtual, like 3 hours a day, 3 times a week kind of thing? And then I'll go into the spiel like, hey, I did it myself and it was very beneficial,
right?
And I think this could do a lot for you as well. So
I have questions about the virtual thing, right? Because I'm old. For you doing it on the virtual, because my concern has always been like, how much are you able to connect with the other people? Like from, you said it right. The difference at RU was the staff, right? The people that you connected with in treatment, like was it, how was it, having your process group in a virtual setting where you'd never met any of these people in real life? Like how did that translate?
I felt comfortable within my first hour. The whole thing about RU too is it's not a huge program with, an excessive amount of people. We got like 40, 50 clients, it's not overwhelming. And with the virtual, I think, at most there was maybe like 11 people in there, and I don't know. The group the group facilitators that do the virtual are very engaging. They'll make sure that you do a check up with them, each morning. So
right.
It's yeah.
So for you, there was no value lost in doing it online.
No, not at all. I mean, I would have preferred to stay in Florida, but I chose to come home holidays. So
what's life like now? You know, what's, you know, outside of, you know, you didn't get sober just to work in treatment, right? Which is, although we like love what we do, right? Like there's more to life than just that. So what else, what other good stuff is going on in your life, man?
Well, I mean, since getting sober, you know, I have, you know, an amazing relationship with my family again. They're all very accepting of me. I don't know, man. I'm able to live again. You know, I'm not living in squalor, thinking about my next fix, or, you know, I don't know. Even on my day off, like today, I'm like, I check up on my work emails to make sure my clients are getting in, you know. I don't know. It's just everything's different to me now. Like, you know, I don't know. My quality of life is actually there. So
Yeah,
That's awesome. That's great.
that's beautiful.
Yeah. It's about that
Is
time.
it that time?
I think it's that time.
It's that. Do you know what time it is, Brian?
I don't.
It's rapid fire
question time.
It's rapid fire question time.
All right, I'm gonna go first with my favorite classic. Brian, Ben and Jerry's wants to make an ice cream flavor based on you. What would you call that ice cream flavor, and what flavors and toppings would you put in it?
Man, probably just like a dirt cake with gummy worms.
What the fuck is a dirt cake?
What?
What is it?
What? With like Oreos, like ice cream, like gummy worms, you know?
Okay, all right.
Yeah, and what do you call it?
A dirt cake ice cream, I don't know.
All right. So you've lived in Florida for how long now?
Since June.
Give me a good Florida man story that you've experienced.
Man.
Like saw a dude with an alligator at Publix or something.
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't know. A couple months ago, there was like an alligator crossing the road that was holding up everyone. So.
Yeah, made you late for work. Fucking alligators.
Florida's like the Wild West, to be honest. It's just a different breed here. So
It is.
it's crazy.
All right, Brian, what is your least favorite tattoo?
Probably this anchor on my eye. I have like 6 laser sessions on it so far.
Yeah. Why?
Yeah.
Why? What is it about the anchor?
It's just the placing. It kind of looks, I don't know, a little degenerate, you know. I don't know. I was very high when I got it, and I was like, "Oh, cool! I look like, you know."
That's the one. That's the one that people
be in prison.
give you the look like, "Oh fuck, he's got an anchor."
Yeah. It's like, no, I loved Popeye when I was a kid.
Yeah. All right. Supernatural story. You ever seen a UFO, a ghost, Bigfoot?
Damn it.
I swear I saw like a ghost in military school. We used to have to do like guard, you know, once a month, and we'd have to do like a perimeter check of the whole entire campus. And that military school was around since like the 1870s, so there's like some weird shit going on there. And saw like an old soldier, like it was weird.
Wait, I'm curious. Like, what were you guarding against? Like, were y'all worried that
Ghosts.
the military school was going to get invaded, or what?
Who knows? You know,
Ghost.
it's a prep school for Army, Marines, whatever, you know.
Yeah.
So
Let's just make them wander around in the dark.
Yeah. Put some hair on your chest.
All right. Last question, man. So, Brian, you're having a rough day, man. You're stressed. You're frustrated. What's your go-to music to help you break out of that and get into a better spot?
Man, my musical taste is all over the place, but probably like Ramirez or Bones, or, you know, maybe like some indie music, you know, maybe some emo music.
There you go. Now you're speaking Joseph.
Yeah, the emo. Once we get to the emo.
Joseph's
What-
Joseph's eyeshadow just popped on.
I was never one of those fucking scene kid emos. I was like a Hot Topic
A
goth
mall goth.
kid. Yeah, I was like a mall goth.
Jinko.
Yeah. Jinkos and spikes and, you know, little chain wall.
Oh, hell yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Aw.
Oh yeah.
Is that your kind of emo? Yeah.
Yeah, I had the spiked hair, all black, stupid.
Yes.
So
No, it wasn't stupid. It was awesome.
it was. Look back now, I'm like, Jesus, that was me.
So we went to a haunted house right before Halloween, and they had like a little store where you could buy T-shirts and shit, right?
Mhm.
And it was called Haunt Topic.
Haunt topic. That's pretty good.
Let's see.
Bryan, so the last thing we like to do on the show before we wrap things up is
Yeah.
give you the platform for a few minutes. So like
Oh, sorry.
whatever kind of like parting message you want to give to the viewers, if there's anything you want to promote, kind of just the floor is yours, do your thing.
Man, I don't know. If I had to say something, I want to say, to anyone that's watching this, like, you're worth it. Give us a call if you're struggling. It's going to be tough right now. It's shitty right now, but make that call and let us see what we can do for you. Because I've been through it. My brother's been through it. You two have been through it. We've saved countless lives, and we'll keep doing it. That's pretty much all I got. So
That's good. No, thank you, man.
Well, Bryan, thank you one more time for taking time out of your day off to,
of course, brother.
to hop on Zoom and talk with us on the show here, and for being open and vulnerable and sharing kind of your story with us and our 7 listeners at home.
Much more than that. My mom's 8.
8.
Yeah.
At least 8.
Yeah.
It's more than that. I just
And we'll go get a pub sub next time I'm in Florida.
Yeah, let's go.
Sounds good.
hot take: pub subs overrated.
It's a Florida thing, though.
It is.
You know what? Nothing in Texas is overrated.
No, Torchy's is definitely not overrated.
Torchy's is garbage.
Torchies is trash.
Torchy's is trash, bro. We don't claim that anymore.
Fried avocado taco from Torchy's.
Torchy's is a representation of Austin, man. It was way
New
better.
Austin.
It was better
Yeah.
15 years ago.
Okay, I'll go with that.
Anyway, to you, our loyal, what did we say we were going to call our viewers now?
Toxies.
Toxies, to our loyal Toxies. All 5 of you. To our loyal Toxies, thank you so much for tuning in, for taking time out of your day to watch the show, listen to the show. As always, wherever you listen to us, don't forget to like, follow, share, subscribe. It really helps us out to get the word out.
Hopefully we'll get 7 more listeners on.
Listen, we know for a fact that like this podcast has the capacity to change people's lives because
Almost 1 million views for some of our clips.
but I'm not even talking that. Like we literally, there was a review on the RU Florida who the dad was like, I found this place because of this podcast and my son is there and I love him and we're having a great experience and like legit,
There you go.
we're not just in a room talking to ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, like, follow, share, subscribe. Thank you for listening. As we like to say here on Toxicology, there's 1,000 ways in and 1,000 ways out. And we hope
you find yours.